words as such see.
Good evening, Ka.
Thank you. And is
Madam
Josie
Speaker, we can begin.
Is Josie FM in the meeting?
Sipo, please advise.
Is Josie FM on platform?
No, they're not in yet. They'll be joining in there. I think they're just wrapping up 2 adverts before they come into the show. But
Okay,
I think let's start, Madam.
Yeah.
Should we start or give them 2 minutes? What do you say, Doc and Sipo?
Let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead, Madam.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, Joe Beggars, and welcome to the talk with the Speaker of Council. My name is Nongceba Mulwele, and I am the Speaker of Council. We are live on various platforms, such as City of Joburg social media platforms, as well as my own page, which is Nongceba Mulwele on Facebook, and @speaker_COJ on Twitter. We are also live on VOW Radio of VETS. So we are live on many platforms today. We are also live on Josie FM until 7 this evening, and would also like to acknowledge our other community media partners who have partnered with us ever since we started, who broadcast these engagements, such as Cheer FM, Eldos FM, and Pulse FM. Thank you very much for your continued support in this civic education initiative. Ours is about civic education. It's about empowering our citizens. A very special greeting to all our listeners and viewers and our beloved panel of esteemed guest speakers, which I will introduce shortly. Tonight, we are talking about vaccinations, especially for and with young people. So we are inviting all our followers to follow this important discussion this evening. This week, the demand for vaccination has increased with around 250,000 daily jabs. This is fueled by a surge of the 18 to 34-year-olds, the youth of our country, or the future of our country, who are now able to get it. Once they are encouraging public discussions and clear eagerness for vaccination among many youth, there still appears to be the most vaccine-resistant age group. Many think that they are young and healthy enough, already exposed and were not infected, or had COVID without severe illness. Hence, why bother with vaccination now? Other sentiments include, I travel in taxi every day and never got ill. I'm good without a vaccine. And what is the use of the vaccine if you can still get sick? There are also reports of fears among young women in the childbearing years that vaccines hurt the fetus during pregnancy, that it can also cause male or girls' infertility. There's a viral video that has been widely shared claiming that vaccines cause COVID, that it spread AIDS as an apartheid strategy to kill Africans. I mean, there are many perceptions and myths on this issue, and that is the reason why we decided to have this discussion this evening. It is so that we are able to clarify and dispel some myths related to vaccinations. Ultimately, these elements can cause apathy. And so today, in the spirit of civic education, I thought it relevant to have this engagement with young people. Ladies and gentlemen, without waste of time, today we are joined by esteemed guests, as I said. We have Councillor Eunice Mgcina. I'm not sure whether she's already in the meeting, Sfiso and Tlaga. And Councillor Mgcina is the MMC for Health and Social Development in the city of Johannesburg. We are also joined by Dr. Fundile Nyati, who is a specialist family physician and founder of Proactive Health Solutions. Upele or Dr. Fundile Nyati is also our civic education partner in the city of Johannesburg. He is a panelist this evening. We also have Ms. Gabi Faber, who is part of the VEX SRC member. She is also the legal and policy officer in the SRC. Welcome, Gabi. We also joined by Mr. Vuse Mazibugo, who is the Regional Health Deputy Director in the city of Johannesburg. A very warm welcome to all our guests, and thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being part of educating and empowering our citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight into it. Before I hand over to my co-host, of which I am not sure whether he has joined, Umushe from Jose FM. He is in the meeting. Thank you very much. I'm going to start with Dr. Nyati. Doc, there is a lot of information in the public domain about vaccinations, but please just simplify for us. You know, Uguti, what are vaccines? How do they work? And why is it important that we all get vaccinated under this pandemic as a nation? Over to you, Doc.
All right, thank you very much, Speaker. All right, I think we need to first understand that when we talk about fighting diseases, there's various levels of fighting diseases. It starts by people getting the right information so that they can prevent getting those diseases. So information dissemination is the primary thing, so that people can make the necessary risk management, strategies. Now, after that, it's about early detection or screening, with that, the people have got the problem or they don't have the problem. The third thing in the arsenal of fighting diseases is use of vaccines. The fourth thing is actually when somebody has got the illness, it's giving them treatment. And then the last one is when somebody is recovering from a disease is to rehabilitate. So I'm giving you the whole continuum. But the question is really about vaccines. So vaccines is one of the tools in our basket of fighting diseases. And what a vaccine is, it basically, it's a biological preparation that is made by a pharmaceutical company. This biological preparation that's made by a pharmaceutical company, they take the germ that is causing the disease, or they take part of the germ that is causing the disease. And that is made into a preparation, and it's tested for safety, it's tested for efficacy. What they are trying to do is to enable a person to develop soldiers against that germ before they actually come into contact with the real germ. So when I said you take a germ, we weaken the germ. That is, it is put under certain chemicals so that it is weak. It cannot cause a disease. All right, so that's what we call live attenuated vaccine. Or it is actually killed. All right, so, but when we give it to your body, whether it's weakened or it is killed, your body does not know that this thing is weakened or it has been killed. It goes and produces soldiers against that particular germ, so that when the real germ, live germ, comes, you already have soldiers that will shoot that germ on sight. Sometimes we then take pieces of the germ, proteins from the germ, and we make them into a vaccine. And again, the body will not know that that piece or protein that we took from the germ is not the whole germ. It will produce soldiers as if it has conducted the whole germ. And so when the real germ comes, you are ready to fight it. The fourth one is we take things that are produced by the germ, some toxins that are produced by the germ, we make vaccines with that. Again, the body will not know that this is a toxin from a germ. It produces soldiers as if you've met the germ. Those are the four broad types. So when we come to COVID-19, therefore, we don't use whether a live germ, I'm talking about the ones that are approved in South Africa, we don't use a live germ or a dead germ. What we use proteins from the feet of the germ, which are called spike proteins. And we then use different technologies taking that spike protein, and through that then is made to be a vaccine. And a vaccine is a living thing, like I said, it's a biological preparation. It cannot coexist with a microchip or any other thing or metal or anything that is funny like that. So to summarize, Speaker, a vaccine is an artificial preparation that is made by a pharmaceutical company making use of either a full germ that has been weakened or killed, or proteins of the germ, or products of the germ. But when it comes to COVID-19, we only in South Africa are using vaccines that are coming from the proteins of the feet of the germ. That is for the Pfizer vaccine and also for the J&J vaccine. The technologies used between the two are slightly different. The J&J vaccine, they take another weak virus called the adenovirus, and on top of that, they put, the spike protein. Whilst on the Pfizer one, they use a new technology that's called mRNA, which basically they take information from the RNA of the virus, and they actually use that to teach your own body cells to produce something that's like a spike protein. And when your body picks up that spike protein thingy, it produces soldiers. So broadly, it's about getting to have a defense against a germ that we have not yet met, so that when the real germ comes, you are ready to fight it. Thank you.
All right, that is Dr. Fundile Nyati giving us a background and an understanding of vaccines, and he gave us a clear understanding there. Of course, we'll proceed. Joseph and family members who've just joined us. This is the Civic Education Initiative that is led by the Speaker of Council, Councillor Nongceba Mulela. Of course, we have a list of panelists. I'm just going to quickly talk to Gabriela. She's the Vets SRC Legal and Policy Officer. Gabriela, welcome to this program, but also maybe you can also share some of your observations around challenges and views on how young people can be encouraged to get vaccinated. Can you kindly unmute yourself, please, Gabriela? That's it.
I just want to say thank you so much for hosting us as Vets SRC, and we're very excited to be engaging the Speaker of Johannesburg, the MMCs, and all other stakeholders on this very important topic. I think what's definitely needs to be made clear is that, as the Speaker of Johannesburg said, that youth don't want to get vaccinated. And I think if we look at this, what is the main contributor is the lack of education. We're looking at a country where there is such a negative perception, one, to vaccinations. Two, we must also remember and appreciate that South Africa heavily is reliant on traditional medicine, and that's where their main confidence lies. And so we often think, okay, now just because it's a vaccine for COVID, now everyone's going to automatically accept this and want to take it. But that is not the case, and we're seeing that very much with youth. Youth also, I think another reason why they are so scared to get the vaccine is because we have our futures. We have our futures at stake more than any other category of the vaccines. We have many years, many experiences, which we still need to go through. And, you know, because there is research on this vaccine, but it's not youth friendly. No one wants to read through huge theses or articles. They want quick facts, some sense of security and understanding that this is not going to ruin our futures, that is not going to put us at risk. More than that, as youth, we want to go out, we want to live our lives, and we often be the kind of people that we think of the now. And during COVID, we've also seen that many youth don't go by the regulations of COVID because we want to go partying, we want to be with our friends, we want to socialize, we want to have a normal life. And so much of that has been compromised because of COVID. So here comes the issue of we don't, so to say, mind necessarily risking getting COVID because we want to have fun. And as youth, we're nervous that going and having the vaccine is going to be another thing which threatens our likelihood of going and enjoying life. Whether, you know, that even might be affecting fertility or affecting our menstruation or mental health or so many things. And I think what we need to understand is we have to educate the youth. And we have to push the narrative of, guys, we want to live our lives as VIT students. So many VIT students haven't experienced VITs. We've experienced sitting on a laptop, which is not the VITs experience. We haven't experienced, there's been so many struggles of mental health at VITs because people aren't socializing, people aren't making friends. So they're coming from all these rural areas and coming and sitting in front of a laptop. And we're not getting the best education that we deserve. We're not getting the experience of our youth years because of COVID. And we need to advocate to youth that if we want our lives to go back to normal, then we have to be vaccinated. Me personally, from an experience, I have 2 autoimmune diseases. I have ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis. And last year, when we were in one of the peaks of COVID, I was going out and I wasn't caring, and I went and I was with friends and socializing and partying. And what happened was I landed up getting COVID. And I landed up giving COVID to a large amount of my Jewish community because I will admit now I was irresponsible. And I landed up getting really sick. I was in hospital in ICU with me and my mom. She also landed up in ICU. I was on oxygen. I had to self-isolate for 19 days, and it was really bad. And I understand now that, yes, I was irresponsible. But now we need to understand as youth is that in order to, before we thought that the only way to live our life is to risk the fact that we might get COVID. But we overlooked that risk because we wanted to have fun and we wanted to move on from this pandemic. And now we need to acknowledge as youth, and we need to advocate to youth that we don't need to be irresponsible anymore to go on with our lives. We need to be vaccinated in order to move on with our lives.
Gabriela, thank you so much for those opening remarks. Indeed, young people are caught in the middle. They are not sure whether they should get vaccinated or not. It is indeed a challenge. Of course, they want more information on vaccines and the challenges there, often what it has for the future as young people, as will be the leaders of the future. And unfortunately, also had the experience of getting the COVID-19 virus, and you pulled through. So now I think it's important for us to champion that young people should go out there and get vaccinated so they protect themselves and also protect those that they are surrounding them. Of course, I'll now include Ubabu Vusi Mazibuko. I know he's the Regional Health Deputy Director of Health in the city of Johannesburg. Baba, you heard Gabriela, young people are really not sure whether to get vaccinated or not. Maybe as a young person, when you go out there and want to get your jab, what can you expect? We have heard of side effects, and young people, maybe that's one of the things that are making them to be afraid to go and get the jab. Maybe on the ground, Nina, as Umnyango Zempilo in the city of Johannesburg, how are you working on this?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and the members of the panel. thank you very much for this platform. I think it's even more appropriate for us to discuss this issue. Number one, there are some, there are a lot.
Mazibuko, I think his network is not stable there. Maybe he will try to reestablish that connection there. Maybe we can move. I don't know if the MMC is here with us. Mazibuko, are you back? Okay, no, he's not. He's got a bit of a challenge with connectivity. 10 minutes just before the hour, 7 o'clock. Mazibuko, you got cut off there. I don't know if you are back now. If you'll be able to proceed with your response to this evening's discussion.
I am connected.
Yeah, you can proceed, say. But Mazibuko, you can proceed. I see now, I think I'm able to hear you on the background. You can proceed with your response. Okay, maybe I can involve you as we wait for Mazibuko to step in.
Hello, I am connected. I was wondering because definitely I'm connected. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, so you can proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wanted, sorry for that inconvenience. I just wanted to respond to the question that has been posed. I said, first and foremost, can I just take this opportunity to really appreciate and thank the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg for awarding us this platform where we need to discuss about the vaccines. I was saying as my opening remarks that all drugs, including the vaccines, have got definitely side effects, and it's expected because it's a chemical that gets into your body.
Okay, no.
Then there are side effects to that effect.
Yeah, your network.
And some of the side effects of them is not really like us, laboratory injection. That is the upper deltoid muscle. That is the upper arm. When you inject that thing, there'll be sometimes swelling, a slight little pain on that thing, and then from there, there'll be redness.
Okay, I think.
But we also monitor.
The network is not stable.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are. You're not. Your network is not stable. We are losing some of your words as you explain your answer. I don't know. Maybe you can try to reestablish your connection, and maybe I can bring in Dr. Fundi before, because I'm pressured with time. Doctor, we are in this time of COVID-19. Of course, I heard you explaining about vaccines. And yes. There's an interesting thing I think I want us to also talk about, the issue of variants. I know there's a panic in the country. We are seeing a new variant that has been discovered, the C.1.2. What does that mean? Talk us through about variants. How are they developed? And then why is it important for us to get vaccinated for future, even if we are going to have new variants?
All right, thank you very much for that question. Basically, I think there's something that we need to all understand, that these germs called viruses all have the ability to multiply very, very quickly. And in the multiplication process, certain mistakes do happen, such that the babies get to be slightly different from the parents. Right? And that is what we call mutation. So you find that in that multiplication process, there are slight changes in the structure of, the proteins of the virus. And when it comes to COVID, SARS-CoV-2, they are happening at the spike protein level. So now when then these babies, or what you call variants, are there, they tend to then be much more infectious, that is spread easy from one person to the other, or some may cause much more severe disease than the original one, or the new ones may find it easier to evade the vaccine antibodies. The antibodies that were developed through the vaccines. So those are the three things we worry about. So the new one that was announced yesterday is what we call a variant of interest. At this moment, it's a variant of interest because there's very few people who have got it, but it's in 6 of our provinces already and a couple of countries throughout the world. But it has not really shown itself to be a major problem. So what we are still dealing with now is the Delta variant that was first discovered in India, because that one is 60% much more faster, or in terms of transmission. Although in terms of vaccine, it actually is easily neutralized by the vaccines as compared to the previous one, that is the Beta variant that was found here in September last year. So really, these are things we expect. They are monitored all the time, and they are monitored for infectiousness, they are monitored for aggression, they are monitored for whether they respond to the vaccine or not. So the one that was announced yesterday, at this moment, there is no reason to really worry. It's being monitored. It's a vaccine of interest. It's not yet been put as a vaccine of, it's a variant of interest, not a variant of concern like the Delta from Brazil, from India, or the Beta that was found here, or the Gamma that was found, in Brazil.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that explanation. I'm not sure if about Mazibuko, his line is stable, so that we can engage him now, because I know that he was trying to engage with us, unfortunately, because of his network. But Mazibuko, you were still explaining yourself with regards to the work that you're doing as the city of Johannesburg, as we were speaking about the side effects that after young people get the jab. Maybe I wanted us to talk about that, on what is it that they must expect, and also while you're at it, what is it that the city is doing to encourage or to reach out to young people to get the jab, as we know that they're future leaders?
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. No,
thanks. I was just talking to the issue of the side effects, which sometimes people, they use them as a deterrent. I would just want to concentrate on the side of injection, that is the upper deltoid muscle, that is the upper arm. Some of the side effects which you'll experience because of the vaccine, you'll find that there'll be pain because you are jabbed into that. There'll be pain, swelling, and sometimes redness. But we monitor the size of the swelling. If it grows beyond that, then from that, definitely we'll do something about it. But also the pain can just take any painkiller for the pain, and then from there it subsides. The most common side effects also is just fever, chills, headache, tiredness, joint aches, muscle aches, and nausea. And if you look into that, most of these side effects, they're very, very mild. If they get very exacerbated in other things, as like for instance, the nausea, there is what we call it antiemetics, which stop the nausea. For fatigue, it's just body rest. And then from there, for the headache, you can just take something, a painkiller. So it's not really something which can deter people from taking the vaccine. The other myth which I really want to debunk is the issue that people, this vaccine will cause infertility, or this vaccine will in fact, is dangerous to somebody who's pregnant. There's no any scientific evidence towards that effect. In fact, we encourage pregnant people or childbearing women to come forth because the benefits outweighs the risks, even to people who are pregnant. So people are more than encouraged, even if you are pregnant, even if you are at a pregnancy-bearing age, that is anything above 14 and above, certainly you'll get benefits from this vaccine. So with those, as City of Johannesburg, in our vaccination sites, we've got a couple of vaccination sites, the public vaccination sites, together with the private vaccination sites. We encourage everybody above 18 years of age to come forth and get the jab of the vaccines. The benefits definitely will protect the community. Even if only the other means to say, then you become infectious. It has been found, there's ample evidence, scientific evidence, which shows that if you have vaccinated, you are less infectious. So it protects you, even your family and your friends, because you'll definitely be less infectious. It doesn't stop that, it doesn't say that you won't be infected, but you'll be less infectious, that is, communicate this disease to other people. The other important fact is that also it stops from you progressing to serious illnesses. Half of the hospitals are overburdened because people then regress to a very serious condition and sometimes even result in the ICU. So those are the benefits of the vaccines. Lastly, which I want to share, if you look just across the ocean, if you look on those countries, everything is going towards normality. People are starting enjoying themselves. They go to restaurants, they're attending games. I mean, if you watch the games over the last weekend, people were just full, and majority of them, they're not wearing masks. We're not encouraging people not to wear their masks. All these non-pharmaceutical interventions, we still encourage them even post-vaccination. But the benefits of the vaccine, they're very important. Lastly, I really want to encourage everybody that is community members of the City of Johannesburg, together with the students at Wits, to everybody else to say, guys, let's go for the vaccines. It has been proven that these vaccines are really beneficial to the community and can preserve and protect life. Thank you.
Before I leave this session for this evening, Dr. Fundi, I just want to also include you again, the importance of what we call herd immunity or population immunity. What is that, and why is it important for a country like us to reach what we call herd immunity or population immunity?
All right, thank you very much. Basically, what we're saying, and this is what the clever people, who are doing epidemiology have come up with. They have calculated to say what percentage of South Africans need to have been vaccinated fully for us to start to see a reduction in the circulation of the germ in the population. And they've found that between 2/3 and about 70%, so between 66 and 70%, that's the percentage of South Africans who must have been vaccinated. When we reach that point, they have, been able to demonstrate that then there will be reduction in the amount of virus circulating. And with that reduction, it means we'll be closer to saying goodbye to, this pandemic. However, the longer we take to get to that point, the more we're gonna have new variants happening. So it is in all our interests that to get back to normality, let's get to that 70% as soon as possible. Also, to prevent future variants, let's get to that point as soon as possible. Those are the key reasons.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fundi. Speaker of Council, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks to all the panelists who have participated in this evening's program from our side, from Joseph. And thank you so much, Speaker, for the opportunity. I will just hand it over to you right now.
Thank you very much, Moshe, and thank you very much to Joseph FM listeners and the participants. Maybe before we go to our participants, I am told that the MMC has sent an apology, but she has requested one of the directors, Jabu Rakosa, to represent her. May I just find out? I see Joburg at Joburg. Is that Jabu?
All right, that's where we will leave this evening's proceedings with regards to the.
Ndlaga, is Mam Jabu present?
Evening, Madam Speaker. Yes, he is part of the panelists. I do see there.
Okay, I do see her. Yes, I do see her. Thank you very much, Jabu. We are told that you are representing MMC. There's a question that we wanted to ask MMC, and we are going to pose that question to yourself. If you could share the stats of people who have vaccinated across the city of Johannesburg that have already vaccinated, and please share the plans of the city of Johannesburg to reach out to more young people so that they can be vaccinated now that it is their 10, 18 to 34s. So if is there a plan that the city has to reach out? And if you could share the plan with the citizens. And you are most welcome to the show.
Good evening, Madam Speaker, the panelists and the members of the public that have joined us today. And thank you for inviting us as a health department to come and be participants in this important discussion. It is important just to say that together with the provincial health department and the premier's office, the mayor, and yourself, we appreciate all the work and the leadership that we are getting from our political principals. The types of work that you are doing currently, the outreach, we're going out to do education and what we are now calling the pop-ups. This is where we identify areas that are far or hard to reach, like your lowly farms and informal settlements, the hostels where people are a bit reluctant to come out. This is what we're targeting now during the week or Saturdays and Sundays that we go there in large numbers. We do a lot of community mobilization with the ward councillors so that people are educated and encouraged to vaccinate. So with the pop-ups, we are going there and we give the people the once-off, which is the J&J vaccine. So we actually are going out to the people, and this is what the Premier is always emphasizing. Let's go out, let's get to the people. Although it's difficult, I think, with the young people, but we've got a number of partners that are also working with us. I think at VETS, Netcare is already there to assist and encourage the young people to vaccinate. We're printing posters, pamphlets, and giving this out. Our group com is also assisting us to put messages out around exactly what the vaccine is, what are the side effects, and how people can actually mitigate around some of those side effects. But most importantly, I just want to say, while I have this opportunity, that when we take medication, it's important that people understand how our bodies react to medication is going to be different from person to person. Some people might have no side effects, others will be mild side effects, some of them might be severe, but it's just a natural body's response. It doesn't mean that you are necessarily sick, it's just the body adjusting to the chemical that has been injected or that you might have ingested. So this is a normal body reaction. We are also establishing vaccination sites and trying to reach the different corners of the city where we have non-medical vaccination sites. Then we've got what we call medical vaccination sites, which you will find in your community centers like Shawelo. This is where we call this a medical site. The others are where we've requested in the halls that you call the non-medical site. But we are also using all opportunities that we have, where, for an example, we have the launch of the local business forum launch in Meadowlands on the fire tomorrow. We have been invited there. So these are the types of platforms that you would like to be invited and capitalize on those opportunities and those types of partnerships. The other day we had a partnership with SAPC, and then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we've got a partnership with ENCA as well. At Maponya, we'll be reaching out to the communities through that medium, but also we'll be mobilizing on the ground as well. But we've got our politicians that are very, very active on the ground that are working with us in the office of the Premier, through the Intergovernmental Relations Office is also working on those. I think just around the issue of the young people, at the moment, challenge that we are having around the young people is that with the current numbers that we are looking at, we found that for the female young people, they are about 5% in terms of the numbers that are vaccinated. Although we are being congratulated that we've made a lot of progress, like the 1 million people that are vaccinated. Of that, 5% female young people and about 4% young males. And this for us is a major, major concern. That's why I would like to use every opportunity to say where our health education material is maybe not very clear, or we need to unpack those huge books and make them simple. I think that challenge, I think I've picked up, and I think there's a homework that needs to be done to make sure that we simplify as much as possible so that we reach out to all the young people. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Rakwasa. Thank you for that information and also sharing the plan with us. Let me check with the team. Abo Sfiso, what are our viewers saying? Can we get questions or comments from our viewers so that our panelists can then be able to respond and share more information?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. There are a few comments that have came through. One is from Noliswa. She asked, should a person get the COVID-19 vaccine even if I have already had COVID? That's the first question. The second question from Unom Tandazo. She asked, what was the process in developing the vaccine and was it hurried? And this message is basically dedicated to Mr. Dr. Nyati. The third question, which has been asked by Usimpiwe Mhlalose, what process is followed before a vaccine is given to the public? And then the fourth question, which has been asked by Uspelele Dlangalala, what is the percentage of people who need to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in order to achieve herd immunity? Then the fifth one, Madam Speaker, from Lirato, she asked, is it safe to drink Panaro and Grandpa before you take your vaccine? I'll leave it there for now, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. We have experts around here. Maybe they can share questions. Let me start with Mr. Mazibubu to answer some of the questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I'll respond to the questions of, is it safe to take Panaro or Aspirin before the vaccination? Certainly, there's no need of you taking that. I think Jabura Kosa alluded to the fact that we respond differently. But if in the event that you have got pain and it's unbearable pain, then you can take an analgesic or a painkiller. So to answer you, definitely after, not pre the vaccination. I think also there was a question raised about what percentage, what we call it community immunity, and also what we call the herd immunity. There's a range of that, from 70% and above, 2/3. Dr. Fundile really alluded to that, 70%, which is plus or minus 40 million in South Africa. That is, people need to be vaccinated to have that herd immunity. The other questions, I'll leave them to the other members of the panel. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. All right, let me take the other questions, Speaker, so that we manage time.
Yes, Doc. Maybe before Doc responds, I've just been made aware that the voice of vets may also want to ask questions.
Okay.
The voice of vets here, so that when the other panelists respond, they respond to the voice of vets as well. Gabi, is voice of vets having a question?
No, so far they are not.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Yes, you can go, Doc.
All right, there's two questions that were asked. In fact, there were three questions, but two of them is basically the same thing. One question was, if I've had COVID-19 disease and I've recovered, is there a need for me to then be vaccinated? The answer is a big yes. Yes, when you get infected and you recover, you will have some immunity for a few months after that infection. However, it has been found that some people, after 3 months, they no longer have that natural immunity that they got, or others at 6 months. So because we know that that immunity wanes, therefore, the fact that you've had infection is no guarantee that you now have protection. And in fact, the protection that you get post-vaccination seems to be lasting for much longer than what most people get, when they've got the disease and they got natural immunity. And so it is very, very important that when you have had the disease, you don't sit and say you are protected. It's important that you do get to be vaccinated, all right? But also the variants are slightly different. You may have been infected last year when it was the original variant, or you may have been infected around February with the Beta variant, but now we are dealing with the Delta variant. So it is important that you get vaccines, because these vaccines are made such that they are able to deal with many variants, and therefore you get better protection through a vaccine. The other question was, what process is followed to develop a vaccine? Now, any prescribed medication, any medication that is prescribed by medical doctors and pharmacists, it undergoes a process, a scientific research process. And that process starts at preclinical stages, that is at the laboratory, or even sometimes with animals, to test whether that particular drug or vaccine does work. Once it has passed at that level of preclinical, then it goes to what we call human trials. That is, it now gets tested in human beings. And even there, we start with a small group of people looking for safety. That's what we call phase 1. If it passes there in terms of safety, then it goes to the next level, phase 2, where it's tested for safety and effectiveness in a smaller group, maybe 100 people or so. And if it passes that second phase, then it's taken to a much larger group of people in multiple sites across the world, for example, or across the country. And there we're talking of thousands of people. And so if it passes there, both in terms of safety and effectiveness, then it's only then that the regulators of medicines in the various countries will then license it for use in human beings. If the results do not show safety or do not show effectiveness, then they will not be approved or licensed. And the licensing is twofold. It could be for emergency use, all right, or it can be fully licensed. Up until last week, all vaccines were licensed for emergency use. For example, the FDA in America, the EMA in Europe, SAPRA in South Africa, it was for emergency use. But last week in America, FDA now approved the Pfizer as the first of the vaccines to actually get full licensing, which means now it can be available for commercial use as well. So that is the process. And then there's a phase 4. Even when people are now getting to use that particular agent or here the vaccine, there is ongoing monitoring of the side effects and effectiveness. And information is gathered, and if there's anything that goes wrong there, then the manufacturers have to work on that. So those are the phases that are followed before this thing is given to human beings. And so we don't just wake up and just give people stuff that has not been tested for safety or effectiveness, especially safety. So it is important for people to know, once the regulators have independent regulators, because they're independent to the pharmaceuticals, if they have approved, they've given a licensing, that agent or that drug has been found to be safe and effective, and the benefits are outweighing the risk. Thank you very much.
Doc, maybe before I call Gabi on the platform, and I see there are questions on the chat group. Sipho, are you able to read those questions, or should I read them? Because of time, we are 10 minutes to go, but I just want our panel of experts to respond to the questions that I see on the chat group. There are 3 questions, 3, yes. There are three questions.
Madam, please read them. I only see one on my side.
Okay, let me read them quickly because I think they are very important questions to be responded to get an attention. One is from anonymous attendee. And anonymous attendee says, what are the odds of getting the vaccine and still end up in ICU? One of my family members got vaccinated but still ended up in ICU and is now deceased. The other one says, why do young people have to vaccinate when they can actually fight the infection themselves? Please comment on rumors saying the vaccine causes erectile dysfunction. I think that has been responded to. And then the last one says, good evening, leadership. First, thank you for such an informative session. I would like to find out how long will the vaccination process take place? For some of us had COVID and was told to wait at least 3 months before being vaccinated. So those are the questions. Maybe I can ask
Let me answer them. Okay.
Mrs. Jabu to respond to some, and then Mr. Mazibugo. Then we'll come to Doc, and lastly, we'll have Gabi. Mrs. Jabu?
Good evening again, MMC. One, I think when people have had a COVID infection, it's not 3 months that they have to wait. It is 30 days. The vaccination is going to go on until we have reached our herd immunity. For the population that we have in Johannesburg, the target is 3.9 million. We still have a gap of 3.4 million. So we had projected or thought that we might maybe achieve that in January or February. But as long as we have not reached the target, we are going to continue vaccinating because the target is that we need to achieve the herd immunity. So as long as we've not achieved that, we will continue. And the probability as well with the projections that are coming up of the fourth wave, that is also another challenge. The second one is that if all of us could adhere to non-pharmaceutical interventions and be careful and take responsibility for our own health, we would not be where we are as a people. So why we need the vaccination is we are assisting our bodies because we found that we get infected by our next of kin, our children that have gone out and inadvertently or whatever other means got infected, and then the families get affected. And then we find that we have a large number of family members getting affected. That's why we are therefore going on the precautionary measure of let's vaccinate. But people that are very confident that they will adhere to non-pharmaceuticals, that's the first line of defense that we are encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mazibugo, you're getting vaccine, but you end up in ICU.
Yeah, well, just as a response to that, just today, the South Africa Health Regulatory, the regulating body in South Africa actually made a statement. It said, that is their statement to say, so far in South Africa, there's no person who has been documented who has died as a result of the vaccine. So if it happens, like for instance, it's what we call it pharmacovigilance. I think Dr. Nyati actually alluded to that. When the vaccines are being administered, they are being monitored. So if somebody ends up in the ICU, I don't know the reasons or the causes, what would have happened there, and I'm not in a position to really comment on that. But if only due to vaccines, either being vaccine-induced or what, currently the evidence we do have in South Africa is that there's no documented case which can be linked to the vaccines, and it's being said by the regulatory body. The other question which was raised by the member of the public is regarding the erectile dysfunction. Again, that's another myth which needs to be debunked. it has got nothing whatsoever to do with potence and what importance this vaccine. So please, I'm just urging the public, even the students at VET, because these are our people who should be advocating for the very same vaccines, to say their colleagues and their peers, they should tell them, because there's a lot of misinformation going out there, and they are what we call it vaccination vexers, who are actually going around spreading unfounded facts about these things. In fact, they're not even facts, they're myths. So there's nothing of that nature. And in all these things, these are backed by scientific evidence. All the vaccines and the medicines are backed up by that. I think Dr. Nyati alluded with all the clinical trials from phase 1 to phase 3. These are the things which are backed by scientific evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mazibuko. Dr. Nyati.
Thanks. All right.
Please include the why should young people vaccinate if they can fight the infection themselves?
All right, thank you. Let me answer. Let me start with that one. I think at the beginning of this pandemic, when we were looking at trends elsewhere in the world, what was found then was that less than 2%, of the people who had COVID were under the age of 20. So it gave an impression that if you are younger, you have a much better way of fighting this thing. But since then to now, especially with the Beta variant and now the Delta variant, the issue of age it really doesn't play much of a role anymore. In fact, we've seen kids as young as 6 dying from COVID. So the notion that because one is younger, they have a much stronger immune system and therefore they can fight the disease, it's no longer applicable with the variants that are a problem today. In fact, on the study that was done by UJ and HSRC, whose results were released about 2 weeks ago, they found that one of the challenges about the youth is that there is that false sense of immunity, or ability to fight the virus, which is one of the reasons for hesitancy over and above issues of side effects, issues of effectiveness, or issues of mistrust of the pharmaceuticals or government. So I just want to put that to bed. Young people should go and vaccinate, because that thing that they are better at fighting the disease is no longer applicable at all. Number 2, people have died from COVID-19. Now, 53 people who were alleged to have died throughout the country from this vaccine. SAPRA, together with Department of Health, they did investigations on all 53 of them. 2 of them, they couldn't really get any conclusive information. Then the other people that they died from comorbid disorders, meaning somebody had a pre-existing illness like a diabetes or other serious illnesses. That was the cause of death rather than the vaccine itself. And a few of them, it's people who they went and vaccinated not knowing that they were actually in the incubation period of the disease. And so they died of the disease, that because we don't test people whether they have infection before we give them the vaccine. So unfortunately for those people, they actually had the disease, and that's the reason why. So basically no one, as at least a week ago in South Africa, has died from the vaccine, and that is official from SAPRA, and anyone can go into SAPRA and get that report. And then about the erectile dysfunctions, again, this was a big scare thing in the US. A lot of males didn't want to lose their potency, and they were scared that, by taking the vaccine, in fact, there's more danger of you losing the functioning of your reproductive organ that is affecting the testes or even the penis if you get COVID-19 disease than if you take a jab. So the jab does not cause erectile dysfunction, nor does it cause your ovaries or the uterus not to be able to function. So all of those are myths that have got no scientific basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to you, Doc. Let me go to Gabby, as you are also doing your parting shot. I'm also going to go back to my panelists just to do their parting shots and their last message to our communities. Gabby, as your parting shot as well, you heard Mrs. Rakosa saying that there is still a huge gap that needs to be closed in terms of the number and the target that the city of Johannesburg is supposed to vaccinate. So what is it? How could the vets students assist in at least closing this gap and reaching out to as many young people as possible for them to go out and vaccinate, and also whatever you would want to say to your community at vets and other young people in our city? If you could just come in there.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, panelists. I think with regards to what vets can do, I think we need to maybe switch it around. And my question to you guys and the panelists, to the city, to the MMC is, how are you guys going to attract the youth to get vaccinated? Because currently, if you, even today, for example, as the legal and policy officer, someone sent me a message saying, are there going to be any legal implications if I don't want to vaccinate? That we can't expect the VIT students to be the ones advocating for vaccination when it's these same VIT students who do not want to, who don't feel comfortable to vaccinate. So some suggestions that I would do is that we make vaccinating as easily accessible to students as possible. That would include setting up multiple mobile sites, vaccination sites on each campus. We have medical campus, education campus, and main campus, that we go into residences, the internal residences on campus and the external residences off campus, where there are students also there from UJ, from CJC, and we go into all residences. And then we also do promotions, because students like, we have to talk to the reality of things, of students like free things and like to have fun. So we need to engage in looking at creative programs to motivate students to get it, whether it be maybe free access in certain things, or getting all different ways to say, guys, look, if you vaccinate yourself, it means that you're giving to the community of our country. And so we are giving you this from the community to say thank you for vaccinating. Somewhat of promotional ideas. And yet it might seem to older people as a ridiculous thing to do, to reward someone for vaccinating. But this is the only way we're going to get it. This is the only way. Youth do not, I can strongly say, youth do not want to vaccinate, and we can give all the education we have. We can talk until we blue in the face. Youth don't want to hear it. Youth want to have fun. Youth don't want to risk their having fun. And so we need to switch the narrative, be creative about switching the narrative, and make vaccination appealing to the youth. And target this community with youth ideas. Too often there are, we must know that in our country we have a crisis, that youth are not in leadership positions. Youth are not sitting at those tables of decision making. And we need to include not only just with big things like policies, but youth need to be at those decision making tables in every decision that we make as a country, including the vaccine. We can't have older people giving solutions to younger people. We need youth solutions to youth problems. We need youth talking to youth. We need the youth voice represented in all forms of governance and all forms of policy decision making. Because if the elderly and the ones in power are not going to bring the youth to the table, then we are going to have the problem of youth making their own table. And this will be often misdirected. Yes, we have our ambition. Yes, we have our ideas and our militancy. But sometimes we need your experience and your wisdom and your knowledge. And so as opposed to having two separate tables constantly, where we have the youth against the governing structures, I plead to you that bring the youth to the governing structures and make us part of your decisions so that we can build a better country, a vaccinated country, and move forward through this COVID pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the young voice has spoken on behalf of the young voices. Let me go to Mrs. Rakosa. Mrs. Rakosa, you've heard Gabby says vaccination should be appealing to young people or to the youth, and also the mobile sites. Some weeks ago, I was with the MMC as well as the mayor, and I saw that the city does have mobile sites. So is there any plan for these mobile sites to reach out to the tertiary institutions as per Gabi's appeal? Mamu Rakosa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and to the voice of the young people. I think it's made very valuable input. I think, thank you for your initiative that we started this, but I think after this, we also need to have formal engagements with the youth structures from the university, the SRCs, so that they are a definite participant in our decision-making structures. We share their plans, whatever way we're going to be putting these mobiles, it is with them. The messaging that we've developed, we can share with them and they can advise exactly, what would work with them. But you started this, I think outside this meeting, we definitely need to concretize these engagements. So where we have command councils at council level, how can we engage the SRCs to sit with us, and at the health department where the decisions are being made? Where do we sit with them? How do we plan this rollout of mobile points and pop-ups? We need to engage with them so that they can assist us on the ground level to do the messaging and the social mobilization. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rakosa. We shall indeed exchange the contacts of Gabi with yourselves. Mr. Mazibuko, your parting shot, please, and the message to the communities of Johannesburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think my parting shot is thank you very much for this platform. And it's more encouraging when we get the voice from the academics and the youth at universities. I know that in Cape Town, at UCT already they've started, is one of the vaccination sites. And I thought already even at VETS, if it's already not there, maybe it's in the pipeline to have a vaccination site right there. But insofar as exciting and innovative messaging, I think we'll have to work with the VETS university students and let them just add and put their voice to that so that we come up with something which will look sexy and appealing to the eye of the students. But my parting shot is that when you look, if in fact in the entertainment industry, should it be sports or what, and you look overseas, you really envy to be at that level. So to me, it's enough incentive to say, as South Africans, let's normalize our lives. And the only license or passport to that is the vaccine. So we really need to take this thing serious, because if you look into the stadia and everything other, in fact, overseas, even going to the restaurants, it's one of the requisites that you should be vaccinated. So I doubt as government would like to be monitoring and everything else, but to normalize the situation, to open up the economy, and also to have a normal life, definitely I will urge the students and ourselves and all the general community to say, let's go for the jab. And to the best of our abilities, even at universities or wherever, if there's somebody who's disseminating this misinformation, I think all of us, we should be ambassadors to this effect, to say, let's engage those things. And because they're all myths, there's no scientific proof to those. And we can't deny and turn a blind eye that they're not existing. They do exist. So we should actively engage those myths and try to debunk them. So those are my parting words, Madam Speaker. And thank you very much once more for this platform, and we hope it turns around the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mazibuko, and thank you very much for your parting shots. Let me go to Doc. Doc, do you have a last message to the citizens?
Yeah, well, I think I do. I think I do. I like the contribution by Gabriela. I like the energy, the militancy, and also, the fact that they want people who will think out of the box in terms of what needs to be done and work with the youth. So I fully agree with her. For example, at this moment, the age that she belongs to is what we call the TikTok group. These are the guys where they want to be accessed, quick messaging, to the point, no long speeches and all of that. All right. So it is important that whoever wants to encourage this group to participate leverages the platforms that they use. And TikTok, not Facebook. Facebook is for older people. Younger people, the youth under the age of 35, TikTok. And also the messaging must be simple, to the point, no long messaging. So I'm almost saying the city, I heard, they go and do this and they go to do that. It's well and good, but it has to be different if you are targeting these young people. There's also an organization, an agency of the Department of Higher Education that is called Higher Health, led by Dr. Ramnik. Now, they are doing work already in all the tertiary institutions funded by the Department of Higher Education. So I think any programs have to work with those people because they're already there and they are resourced. And in fact, I'll be talking to him, the CEO of Higher Health, that he needs to actually be part of whatever that we're going to do with the city in relation to the tertiary institutions. Creative programs and incentives. In fact, in the US at this moment, they are now putting incentives to encourage people to vaccinate. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not unethical at all. And so what Gaby has said about incentives, I actually support that, all right? But the thing that youth don't want vaccines is not supported by all the facts. In fact, the reason why the vaccination of the 18 to 34 was brought forward to the 17th of August was because the age above them was actually starting to not respond the way it was expected. And they brought in these young people, 18 to 34. And the numbers, ever since they brought them on the 17th of August, we have now been averaging above 250, very close to the target of 300,000. So the young people are actually, vaccinating in numbers. They may not be at Wits, but generally in the country, they are actually, boosting these. And with the pop-up vaccination sites and other creative ideas out there, mobile, vaccination sites, we are seeing more young people across the country. So there is hope. But yes, let's listen to them. Let's go to where they are. Let's engage with them. Let's not dictate to them. Let's clarify what makes them to be hesitant. And let's hope that they will buy into normality that will be brought through by many of us vaccinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc, for your parting shot. To the citizens of Johannesburg and our listeners, what I'm taking out of this discussion this evening is that, one, no one has died because of vaccine, and it is proven that no one has died because of vaccine. Two, there are mobile pop-ups. There need to be a collaboration with the students and young people in the city, and we shall indeed exchange the numbers with the Department of Health in our city. And so vaccination should be appealing to young people. That also I'm taking with me. And And all the questions that were there and the myths, I think they have been responded to. But the gap, we have to close the gap. We have to encourage citizens to go and vaccinate. Time is the enemy. We have to wrap up. And as I wrap up, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you very much for your contributions. I know that we may all be experiencing COVID fatigue, given that we have been dealing with this pandemic since March last year. So it's over a year now. But I wish to encourage us to hang in there. Let us continue to do the right things, such as masking up and keeping our social distance and sanitizing. Let us do all the non-scientific measures as outlined by our specialists this evening. Let us continue having these conversations so that we dispel misinformation. I think that is very important for me. Thank you very much to all my guests this evening. Dr. Nyati, thank you very much. And you are always with us every Wednesday. Thank you very much to you, Gabriela, as well as the Voice of Vets who have participated this evening. Thank you very much to Mr. Mazibugo for sharing the information, and thank you very much for your participation. Thank you to Mrs. Rakosa. We really appreciate the information you have shared this evening with our communities, and also send our appreciation to the MMC for having sent you, even if she could not make it this evening. Let us continue having these discussions and empower our citizens, and also dispel the misinformation that is out there, because there are people really who don't visit these vaccination sites because of misinformation. So we really have to talk about this every day without tire. Thank you to all our viewers and listeners. And we thank you for your contribution tonight, and those who have written questions and comments. Thank you very much to yourself for having participated. Let us work together so that we can go back to living our best lives sooner rather than later. There was an example that was made, I think, by Mr. Mazibugo of the country, where they are even no longer wearing masks because the nation has been vaccinated. So let us also work towards that. I'm not saying you don't have to wear masks if you are vaccinated. However, let us vaccinate. Let's meet again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and the panelists.
Thank you to all the workers. Thank you very much to everybody who have worked behind the scenes.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good night.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good night.
Good night.